We are here.
So I was lucky enough to catch both jacks I was excited for. This one here is the yellow jack, and then I also caught a Crevalle jack. So this one was 20 inches and the Crevalle was 19. Of course, I bled both of these out prior to processing. That way the bloodlines are small and the meat is at peak flavor. So you'll see the yellow jack here and the Crevalle jack next. And this was all processed prior to going down to Guy's house. Alright, so now we're at Guy's house. And it's been a long week of fishing. I don't know if you've noticed, but my tan line is slightly uneven. The good news is I was able to get the Jack Crevalle that I wanted, and I was able to catch the yellow jack. 20-inch yellow jack, 19-inch Crevalle, which is great because now we get to do this Dueling Jacks video, which we've been talking about, and it's really exciting to do because we've been wanting to create a video where we can do local fish, like something literally pulled out of the ocean and then produced here in town, with great friends, and working with these localized fish, which is what our new project is going to be about. But with that being said, though, we are at my friend Guy's house, and it's only appropriate to let him speak a little bit about himself and his place, so it's not all about me this time.
Well, welcome everyone. When Chef CR asked me, he said, hey, I caught those fish, I said, well, yes, I want to taste it. I've been in Miami for a little less than 2 years, and I'm not that happy. I spent a lot of money in restaurants. I'm not that happy with the quality of food I had for my money. And I just finished a very meal that cost me a lot of money, was not very good, and the night is not over because I didn't drink well, I didn't eat well, and I stumbled there in that place. And they have wine that I'm familiar with, that I know I haven't seen here, and they have food that I'm familiar with that I've never seen here either. So we started talking.
Well, and if you don't mind the intro, just so folks are clear, I had to create fine dining French dishes at the restaurant that kind of paired with these huge boutique brands that are just lesser known. But I was lucky enough to meet Guy, who was familiar with these. So needless to say, we built a relationship quickly.
Right, and it's all about adapting the culture from here, the local culture in South Florida, and the French culture and the fine dining. And I think CR brings it up so well, and it's easy to visualize and to have to see the refine in that food that he's making. And this is what I truly appreciate about Chef CR.
And that's a development of flavor that I preach so much. And this whole channel is about refined food. Just follow the steps and put a day aside to produce great food. Look, restaurants, fine dining restaurants, they don't jump in the kitchen and then an hour and a half later produce you something great. They're making it from sun up to sundown. And if you want to take the time to really produce something great, then do it.
Plan an extra bottle of wine for the preparation.
Right? Salute. Once again, we want to give some love to our sponsor, Croute Knives. Check them out at CrouteKnives.com, and you'll see us lay these veggies to waste as we prepare our sides for the next dish, for the final dish.
great to prepare this purple carriage and blanch it in boiled water into an ice bath. Even if you decide not to use that purple carriage as a side item or a way to decorate your plate, what I was really excited about was the broth that's left over afterwards, because it has that really nice, earthy kind of flavor. It's slightly sweet, but also it's going to turn this stock blue, which is really what I'm looking for. And of course, the more you reduce the stock, the brighter blue it will be. That way, as I add the rest of everything I need for the gastrique later on, it's going to get the color that I want and the flavor. So you can see that beautiful color that cabbage comes out after we're done. So you can either use that on your plate, eat it as is. Naturally, of course, appetizers are some of my favorite part during the cooking process, and I absolutely love oysters. Now, my sweet pea puree requires some oyster sauce. So whether it is you're using pre-made sauce, from a jar of oysters already shucked, or like we do here, where we're actually draining some of that delicious essence out of those oysters and using it into that sweet pea. So that's going through another filter, another colander, and it just really amplifies that sweet pea puree and makes it amazing. Now, as we begin preparing the fish fillets from earlier, it's really important that you remove this bloodline. Although many cultures, including the Japanese, really, and they enjoy consuming the bloodline. For me, it's not what I'm looking for in this dish, as it is a little bit more bitter, a little bit more irony. And so what I'm going to end up doing is, once I remove as much of the bloodline as possible, I'm still going to later portion it and put it into a bath of buttermilk. And what that's going to do is remove any remaining iron, any remaining, bitterness that may be left in those fillets, to make sure we're able to optimize its flavor. Something you do not need to do with the yellow jack. This is just for the crevalle, and you'll see that here in a moment once we finish up with the yellow. Now, I went ahead and let this crevalle sit in this buttermilk bath for about 4 hours before I started preparing it with the And I can't stress enough how important it is to keep these reductions at low to medium-low temperature throughout the entire process, to avoid any bittering and to make sure that you're developing as much flavor as possible.
So, we're over here at the stove. We got two different reductions working. One is our lemon drop clone and white wine reduction we're going to use for our vinaigrette. And then the other is the residuals from blanching our purple cabbage, as well as some of the sherry and a little bit of brown sugar. This is what we're going to reduce all the way down to make a gastrique. This one is getting pretty close to reduced, so that way we can cool it down and then turn it into a vinaigrette with a little bit of balsamic white, some olive oil, a little bit of red chili flakes. It's going to be generally simple, but really delicious. It's a phenomenal product. And you can see all that pulp, which is absolutely amazing.
course, you can also choose to take this mixture and add it into the blender to emulsify it into the texture that we're looking for this dressing. But at the same time, you can do it here by hand just like I did. It takes a little bit longer, a little more stress on the shoulder, but either way it still works. It's just all important to get that perfect texture.
Show the spoon if you don't mind. I know you want to eat it so much.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, it's almost like a syrup.
It's very syrupy.
This is the gastrique. It means sweet and acidic, a little sour. Like Eliaba.
Can I taste now?
Please do. Now you think that will stand up to that wine?
Oh yeah. Now that reminds me, this is exactly, you picked the perfect wine to have with it.
That is how you create refined flavors.
So we went from how much liquid?
Well, this was 2 quarts of liquid. Between the water we blanched our purple cabbage with, to the residual 1/4 cup of water after we put our cabbage in the ice bath, to 1 full bottle of Puree and roughly 2/3 a cup of brown sugar and a pinch of Himalayan pink salt. And you get this beautiful reduction.
So 1 liter of liquid.
Essentially total, yeah. And you create just this beautiful Gastrique.
And, thinking about all the time, as long as we've known each other, this is what I remember from you so much is the stock that you use and the reduction, and it takes so long, and it's something that I haven't found much in South Florida. And I'm glad you bring it out, and I'm glad you're teaching the people how to do it. And it does take time. That's why we need to plan maybe an extra bottle of wine in the process.
I always put an extra bottle.
Now here I'm going to season both fish with just simple a little salt and pepper, and then the Jack Crevalle is going to go on brioche, and then I'm going to use black rye on the yellow Jack. That way I'm able to optimize flavors for both. I don't want strong on strong or lighter on light. So both came out absolutely delicious. Once I shape the toast where I want it, I'm going to put a nice layer of egg wash in between the bread and the fish. That way, as it's heating, they're going to adhere to one another. sure you don't overcook those sweet peas, otherwise you're going to lose a lot of the flavor that comes in them. And in addition to that, the oyster essence, the oyster juice that we took out of those shells earlier in the day, we don't want to add that until after the cream. That way we've allowed those peas to cool down a little bit. That way we get all the flavor out of that juice. Again, this is a situation where you want to keep that heat on medium low. That way you don't burn the edges of the bread, but you definitely want to brown them. And I actually like to get just a little bit of the dark very edges to give me some more varying flavors. And then I finish the fish in the oven at 400 degrees. It only requires another 2, maybe 3 minutes. Just remember, you want to pull that fish out at about 145, 150 degrees. That way the residual heat as it rests finishes cooking it. You don't want these to dry out. Now make sure that you're getting creative with your plates. I mean, here I just kind of did a few random designs. This isn't a final way of plating if I were in a restaurant, of course, but I'm going to show 2 different variations of very simple plating that you could do. You see all the colors, and the plate needs to just direct itself. I'm looking at it and I want to say to myself, okay, if I'm eating this without instruction, this is how I want to eat it. So just kind of, have some fun with what you got. All that matters is that the food in the end is delicious, and you're able to utilize all your components the way you want to. Once again, we want to thank our sponsor, Croute Knives. Check them out. They've got a bunch of new models coming out. They make a great product, guys, so go give them some love. And thanks for showing up and watching the video. I hope you get out, catch some fish, and are able to reproduce this dish. Don't forget to share this video, like, comment. If there's anything you want to see me cook up, just let me know. Thanks, everybody.